Hey, all y'all hollerers and Marquita Bradshaw. It's good to see you. This is a case of the Mondays. We're back after a long hiatus. It's been the longest post-election year so far, but it's been less than a month. So we're still dealing with it. And the longest walk of shame continues as Donald Trump is set to file more silly lawsuits. But we are talking about progress in Tennessee and moving forward. And I am really, really grateful to have Marquita Bradshaw, the first African-American woman ever nominated to a major party in the South since Reconstruction. She was the Democratic Senate nominee in Tennessee and really made some waves when she won the Democratic primary. And now we're talking about next steps with Marquita. Marquita, nice to see you.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for joining us. Now, you're in a car, and I know this is very personal for you. Why are you in the car right now?
Well, I help with my brothers and sisters make sure that my mother makes her doctor's appointments in different places that she needs to go.
That's great. Well, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy day. The work doesn't stop after the campaign. You've got personal things to attend to, and you're still looking forward to what's next for you. You ran a really inspiring campaign for the U.S. Senate. For me personally, I am, like I tweeted out earlier, the grandson of sharecroppers, and I understand you are too. And you were outspent in your race for the Democratic primary 10-1, in the general election even more than 10-1, and you still had such a resounding message that I think cuts across every county in Tennessee. And really, your message, I think, was very nuanced. It was very articulate. It was intelligent. And I just want to talk really quickly about some of the basics of your message in a lightning round, because as we see right now, Republicans who are rallying around the outgoing president, I love to say that, as they are rallying around him, they still can't answer some basic questions. So we're going to do a lightning round, and then we'll get into some meatier topics. So question number one, is climate change real?
Yes,
Do Black
climate
Lives
change
Matter?
is real. Absolutely, yes.
And is Joe Biden the president-elect?
He is my president-elect, and Kamala Harris is my vice president. I'm so excited to even say that. Like, you just do not understand
It's so nice to hear that you're
the
living
joy I get from saying that.
and you're living on planet Earth. All of these things are really irrefutable truths. And yes, we're
All
totally.
those things are true, and birds are real.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Well, moving on, reflecting on your campaign for the U.S. Senate, you were outspent greatly, but you had a terrific message. Do you want to tell us just briefly kind of what was that message, and how are you going to push it forward in the years to come?
The message was based on environmental justice principles that people who are closest to the pain should have a voice in shaping policies to make sure that their communities are healthy and safe, where they live, learn, work, worship, and recreate. And that pretty much looks at policy holistically and what a community needs as far as infrastructure, whether it be in Medicare for all the things that an actual individual need in order to have healthy and safe communities.
And these safe communities, I mean, it's not just Memphis we're talking about. I mean, this includes every county in Tennessee and every county in America, right?
Absolutely. If you look at what brought me into the political process, it was the fact that I lived down the street from a landfill of chemicals made to kill people and plants very effectively, and how that shaped my life as I entered the political process beyond voting and engaging people in a political process beyond voting for over 25 years has driven me to continue to look for ways to increase engagement and participation in our republic to make sure our democratic process is protected.
And this isn't new activism for you. I mean, you were living this reality when Erin Brockovich was organizing in her community for environmental justice. Is that right?
Let me see. I might need to check some facts on that. When Aaron Brockovich going before us, Mama? I think it was probably something. Love Canal happened probably at the same time. Not the same time. No. So love, like I have to trigger her memory. No. So Love Canal happened the be before we got started. They were actually in the court proceedings and the court process before we got started. We got started probably in 1995 is
Okay.
when we got started. And so one thing to know is that what happened in my community is not isolated to Memphis. If you look at Morristown, Tennessee, they are also an environmental justice community. So if you're Black, brown, indigenous, or a poor white community where you are disproportionately affected by pollution, it's usually going to affect all of your environments, your political environment, your actual physical environment, your your medical environment, your learning environment, and also where you live, just completely, as far as the quality of housing and the quality of your infrastructure. Because most likely, the people who are not connected to the political system, where their friends are actually in the U.S. Senate, don't have those same type of uh, industries that pollute and pay low wages.
And Michael Antonio Jones corrected me. He said you were outspent something like 200-1 in the primary. Which now that I think about it, that is correct, because you only raised like 20,000 for the primary, and you had that great line, which was something like, "Watch what a single mother can do to make a dollar stretch," or something like that. I'm butchering the phrase, but that's right.
Oh yeah, the way a rich uh person spends a dollar is not going to be the same way
Yeah,
as a single mom. Yep, we
that's
know how
right.
to make things kind of stretch. Even in this election, in the general, we still did a lot with a little.
And that's so important for, I think, any Tennessee voter to know that the person that they elect not only has the interest of keeping their communities safe from pollution, but also that that person knows how to manage finances and knows how to steward a dollar in an appropriate and moral way. And that's what you can do. And we were obviously scammed by Bill Haggerty in so many different ways. One of which was we were robbed of the chance to see you on a debate stage talking to him face to face. And I just want to know, what would that look like if you were standing in front of Bill Haggerty? What would you say? What would be the issue that you think would resonate against an opponent like that?
Well, I never ran against an opponent at any part of this race. And so the fact that we did not have a debate did not mean that the issues were not discussed. There were plenty of organizations, like some large organizations like Tennessee Wildlife Federation and also the Tennessee Farm Bureau,
Mhm.
where we were interviewed in video. So the debate was differently. And so, if we would have had a lot more resources and time, we would have been able to show the stark differences. But I made it clear in my campaign that we will not spend a dollar to talk about my opponent at all, that people needed to know about healthy and safe communities. And that's where our focus was on. We ran a campaign full of integrity. And also, it was, we, at the point where we got started, we were reaching 1 million voters a week
Mhm.
by different technologies that has not been used in Tennessee, and we did have reached about 3.5 million voters.
And overwhelmingly, my impression of the campaign is exactly right, that you were a positive candidate and that you had issues to talk about, and you brought some substance to the debate and to the campaign. And I know that as you were traveling around, you visited every county in Tennessee. What's a story that sticks with you from being on the campaign trail?
Well, I think the story that resonated with me in rural America, rural Tennessee, was that voters were experiencing suppression, whether it be from intimidation, to keep people from voting, and also to keep people from meeting. When we were in a rural town, uh, talking to this couple where there was not a established county Democratic Party. They were like, we're trying to talk to our friends, and it's really hard, and sometimes it gets really scary. And that is what sticks with me is how the discord of American politics right now cannot continue with what the Trumpites been doing lately, and just really destroying and eroding the American culture and principles of making sure that people are able to have elections freely from intimidation and actually able to vote without any hindrances, because it's just the cornerstone of our republic for our democracy to work.
And a Trumpite is something that hangs upside down from a cave. A stalactite is the one that grows from the cave floor. Is that right?
Absolutely not. I
That
just
was terrible.
call the Republican Party of followers that are not actually standing on the Republican Party principles, but more so are followers of Trump's.
Right. And you talked a little bit about voter suppression, which is something that we see. I mean, we saw it for years here in Tennessee. I mean, it's part of the playbook from the last, century, right? What are you planning on doing in the future to help overcome voter suppression, and what are some of your future plans in politics?
Well, one thing that I've effectively been able to do over 25 years is utilize my skills of new organizing and coalition building. And so over the next few years, we have some of the most important elections that are shaping our state for many, many years. This U.S. Senate seat will shape that just passed, will shape our policies for 10 years out. The way it is, way redistricting goes, the way appropriation of funds goes. And I want to make sure that just because that we are where we are right now, that people understand that we did win because we were able to plant seeds that was worth way more than what we actually took in. We put out more work than what it was actually worth. And if you compare it to some of the other campaigns that got more funding, and it's not really about the people's name or the states or anything like that, but you can equate and put a value to the organizing that we did in the state of Tennessee, and it's worth $100 million.
Mm-hmm. So the amount of money that you raised, you stewarded it properly. You reached out and you talked to voters. Is there a plan or an infrastructure over the next 20 months when we've got our next statewide race, or over the next 4 years when we have another U.S. Senate election? Is there a plan in place to water those seeds, as you say?
Absolutely. One thing for sure is that going to all 95 counties and working with the local county structures and also with the state structure, we lack the infrastructure with the proper funding to support candidates. And so I will be working inside the party and also outside the party, starting new nonprofits to make sure that we implement those things that we brought people together across Tennessee to have healthy and safe communities. So it's just the beginning, and we have to play this long game. And I hate to refer to politics as a game because it does not have any fixed rules, and we have to make sure that people understand we're not playing chess or checkers. This is life, and we need to make sure that we do not have to constantly reinvent the wheel and infrastructure. We have to build on the infrastructures that we create.
You're right. Politics isn't a game. It, like you said, doesn't have rules. It also has consequences, though, really serious and devastating consequences. And so, what do you expect from President and Vice President-elect Biden and Harris? And how do you think Tennessee senators are going to respond?
Well, I know what it is. Our responsibility is to make sure that they respond to the state of Tennessee and not other ways. Like, they have a responsibility to represent all of us in the state of Tennessee. So my responsibility from this point on is showing people how to engage and look for that transparency and accountability. And that's really great for people who are just entering the political process like I did 25 years ago, understanding how this process affect my daily life. Now I get to share that knowledge with a million people and plant the seeds to make sure it can grow and multiply.
And that is, I think, the third time that you've not taken the bait to talk about an opponent in a negative way. So you are really living out your motto of always being positive and staying focused on the issues, which I think is fantastic and really refreshing. So thanks for that.
Look, I ran into him at the Democratic debate, not at the Democratic presidential debate, and I actually did not know who he was uh, at all. And he was like, "Hey, I'm such and such," and I was like, "Oh, okay." But and he's like, "It's a wonderful day for the debate," and I was like, I did throw some shade. I said, "It would be, wouldn't it?" And yeah,
That's really
but
good.
yeah, so that's the only thing I can say but however, we have to make sure that we talk about politics in ways that invite people. And a lot of times when I've talked to non-voters and say, okay, what's holding you back from participating? So, what are some of the barriers, or, what would make you vote? And those are the conversations we need to have with the almost 1.5 million people that did not vote, that's registered to vote. And also look at, we have 400,000 people who are disenfranchised from the voting system because they actually probably was a person with an felon, or a person who don't know that they have voting rights.
Mhm.
And help those people get back into the process. And so there's a lot of work to do across the state of Tennessee. Yes, what Stacey Abrams did in Georgia, and they have a lot more counties than we do in Tennessee. But we have 95 counties, and we can look towards Georgia. But I was taught, if you want your grass to be green, you need to fertilize and water your own grass instead of looking at other people's.
Lessons from sharecroppers' grandchildren is water the seeds that you plant. That's really, you're absolutely right. And I don't want to make that comparison that you could be our Stacey Abrams, because you're clearly doing your own thing. And in Tennessee, some of the playbook is the same: voter engagement, voter empowerment, re-enfranchising voters who have committed felonies who can have their rights restored. Right.
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 And so the work ahead is exciting. And I think, just even talking about this conversation before, it was about, it's time to actually look at the empirical data, that once everything is certified, so we can look at the data and see what it's telling us about our communities, about voter participation, and also looking at the economic structures, the educational structures, and all those environments, and comparing it to the actual voter data to see, okay, we know that these schools are underfunded. We know that these places need jobs, but however, you don't see the engagement and the voter activity that's needed in order to get the change. And so you'll see that counties that have the most amenities, the most infrastructure, the most well-paying jobs are connected more to the political system. And that's what we have to work to make sure that people understand their role in voting and how to actually advocate for those as a voter in every aspect and level of government, whether it be local government, state government, or federal government.
And as we were talking earlier, my impression was that you have such faith and confidence in the American people, in Tennesseans, in voters in general, that if you empower more people to vote, you're not going to worry about the outcome, whether it's Democrat or Republican. The will of the people is the will of the people. You just need to get as many people to the polls as you can.
Right now, we're just trying to make sure that people have the right information and actually grow from being low information voters. We need people to have all the information in front of them in order for them to make decisions to move their communities in ways that they want to, because that's what everybody talks about in Tennessee, how they want their communities to look, how they aspire for their communities to be clean, as far as when it comes to the environment, and also having well-paying jobs, having access as far as physical access and financial access to the medical system, especially in a COVID-19 environment. Right now, we got people who were not able to recover from COVID-19 in their small businesses. And we had people who were actually able to thrive after the COVID-19 reopened up. And now we have people facing those same decisions. So we need to make sure that we have leaders that have a plan and understand how to support all levels of voters. Because right now, when you look at our communities and when you look at the small farmer and the working people, people got to have 2, 3 jobs, whether you're on a farm or even if you go into the factory here in Memphis, you have to have 2 or 3 jobs because these jobs are not permanent. They are part-time or either seasonal, and bills are not seasonal.
Yeah, that's really well said. There's an unequal representation in Congress right now where they're openly saying they're not really representing Democratic interests. They're just representing their party's interests. And so that cuts out a whole lot of independents, Democrats, people all across the economic spectrum. And so I'm happy to hear that you are staying hopeful and staying in the work, and that you'll be starting a lot of organizations that are going to help empower people. As we leave, I've had some comments come in. Keep up the amazing work, Marquita. We love you in Tennessee. And it's true. We do love you. You ran an inspiring campaign. Are there any final thoughts or words that you'd like to leave us with?
Well, the one thing is that we have to make sure that we don't feed into the negative narratives, feed into repeating the same narratives that suppress votes. If you keep saying Tennessee is a red state, people are going to say, okay, it's no use for me to vote.
Mm-hmm.
Those are not my values, so I don't want to participate in the process. That's not right. And if you say you're with the Democratic Party, that means that if a person is a Democrat, you need to support them no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And not decide who's viable or not. It's about making sure that people have something to vote for and not against.
That's very well said. And that's a great attitude to leave us with. Any plans for Thanksgiving?
Not gathering like we usually do. So just trying to figure it out because it's really different and it's really hard. And a lot of our traditions have changed. We usually have Sunday dinner every week, and all our holidays is full of family and music and fun and dancing. And now we have to do it apart and find a way to do it together at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're looking at ways. I know one thing, I'm not cooking. So if you want to bring a plate by the house, you're welcome to.
It's a long drive, but I'll consider it. I'll send you some food and drive past my Republican family members and not give them any. But even if the holidays look different, aren't as many people at the house.
You still have to be nice. You still got to be nice to your Republican people also, because they're still our brothers and sisters. They just don't understand policies the way we do. And so my great grandmother always said, kill them with kindness.
Yeah.
And that's how you get people to change bad behaviors over time.
Show a lot of patience and grace. That's right. Well,
but she didn't spare the rod either. So you do have to get at them with policy if they're doing stuff that's bad.
I hope that's the clip that we use later on. Don't spare the rod. Get after them with policy.
Don't spare. That's the same thing with the policies in pen right now. I'm excited that Joe Biden is going to be president, and he has the power to write executive orders with the stroke of the pen, and with funding, things can change overnight. And so this is something that we all should be excited about. And of course, do not forget to support people. If you got some extra coins in Georgia right now, send them their way. But don't forget to water your own grass in Tennessee. And I'll be making sure that you have information on how to support me in the future in the next couple of weeks.
That's right. And holidays are going to look smaller, but you've got at least 1 million new friends in Tennessee who voted for you and support you. Thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate you. I'm getting more comments and messages that people love you. So thank you so much, and have a happy holiday.
Until next time, okay?
Until next time.